Welcome to Landezin Talks. My name is Zash Brezar, I'm editor-in-chief at Landezin, and today we are presenting our 2021 LILA Honour Award winner, Snøhetta. LILA Honour Award, as you may know, is given to offices or individuals who have already, at least in our opinion, established a tangible body of outstanding work that is important to the global professional landscape architecture community. There was some curiosity among some of our visitors why a landscape architecture platform would recognize an office that in a large part deals with architecture. But Snøhetta creates architecture and landscape, but also interiors, product design, landscape design, investigates materials, and so it is an office that works across several design fields. What separates Snøhetta from the crowd is, we think at least, the fact how they deal and play with the very notion of landscape and buildings. And of course we're not talking about the difference between what is grown and what is built. It is about overcoming the old binary dichotomy between what is perceived as a landscape and what is perceived as a building. So it's probably fair to say that Snøhetta's work reflects a profound non-binary understanding of landscape and buildings, and this is where they excel and reach far beyond the playbook. Their designs appear as fitting manifestations of context-based narratives and imaginative creative forces. Snøhetta successfully combines various modes of the design process and contextual particularities and responds with clear structures that grow out of those complexities. Their narratives seem grounded in the collective memory, rising to the future possibilities. In that regard, there is a strong notion across many of the projects that also buildings in the portfolio of Snøhetta were actually designed as landscape moments or landscape situations, if you will. It seems that the very core of this approach is interdisciplinarity. In so many countries in the world, architecture offices still get to design landscapes without landscape architects, and of course they often fail. So merging different professions into one collective that works together daily is obviously rewarding. And probably this attitude contributed to the diversity in the projects. They reflect a well-informed, eclectic approach to design. This is what we wish to say with the LILA 2021 Honour Award, and so we are extremely happy to celebrate the work of Snøhetta. And I'm happy to welcome one of its directors, Osuldsen, who has been with the firm for quite some time now. She has also been a speaker at one of our earliest events in 2017, so be sure to check the links below this video for her lecture. And Jenny is tuning in from Oslo, where there is the most important office of Snøhetta or not. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, and thanks a lot for this invitation. And we're thrilled to get the award. I really must say I'm here on base and really from everybody to Snøhetta to say our thank you. And actually with your opening words, I think that is crucial to say this interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, trans-disciplinary, this way of working that we are more disciplines together is really the base of Snøhetta. So yes, it started in Oslo with the first office, but it's been, I would say, international from day one. So it's been people from different professions. It started with landscape architects and architects from day one, and then it has evolved over time. So we have more offices, 7 offices around the world, and Oslo and New York are the 2 main quarters. And then we are smaller offices, but they're all based more or less on the same. Of course, there are always local differences, like it's always differences in context and site. So, but I must say, there is always a landscape architect in the office.
And you also, what we really appreciated with your office is that you employ so many people with so many different backgrounds. I think there are from all over the world practically, and so this also probably helps to kind of have this kind of spherical global understanding of space. You know, you can be equipped with many different views on one task, for example, on one brief. So does this help in a way, you know, to understand projects that are maybe in Oslo for you?
Yes, I think so. Again, it's both that we have so many different profession per se, but then that people come from different schools, different background, different childhoods, different landscapes. They bring all this with them. It's the stories they bring with them that they bring to the table, then also gets different storytelling. And I would also say that the narratives and the way we work in concept is all about the passion for the project we're doing, and also these conversations we're having. I mean, you need to look into a program, but each approach from the persons that is part of the team is really how it's shaped. And then we also always pick people that wants to work together in a team. If you want to go solo, I think you can easily get very alone in Snøhetta, and it's really about this to be singular in the plural, that we even take, I mean, it's important to take care of the people, but you need also to find your space in this team thinking, which also brings back to where you come from, and that you dare, and you're bold, and you're humble, and you also want to give something back. Always try to stretch out and maybe look for things you didn't know you were even looking for.
Speaking about different profiles, you have probably architects, landscape architects, graphic designers, the lot. But what other profiles do you also have in your offices? Are there some kind of, far-reaching professions?
Not maybe far-reaching enough, but we have a couple of artists, which is super, super good. And as you, interior architects, we don't call them interior designers, interior architects. And I think also the equality of the base of the architects' professions, that it's always been from day one. It's the equalness. It's not, even if they're much more regular architects than they are landscape architects and interior architects, it's always been really looked upon as equal. And I think that is also quite often that clients don't really understand that. No, interior architects come much later, or we don't really need a landscape architect now. It's really the team. And if an interior architect or a graphic designer or whoever, product designer, talks about something that is, no, this is the feel of landscape architect. No, then they bring something different. And then maybe we are not always agreeing, but I think that is also part of how we can evolve and maybe see new solutions, different solutions. But then it's again to try to find the conceptual thinking with the context and the layering on the context, which could be very holistic, but it could also be super narrow at the same time. So zooming in and zooming out is part of maybe the tools that we need to use. And you can all, and I mean, as you also said in the starting, if it is this a building or is this a landscape? Maybe that is not so important. It's about the concept and the project and the site specificness of itself.
Do you agree that these professions will anyway merge together in a way, some kind of, not professions itself, but the design teams are getting more and more complex, probably?
Now, everything is so complex and everything also goes super, super fast that we need to take that into that we need different views, we need different standpoints, and maybe also more specializations. Which doesn't mean that we need to have 100 people on the team all the time, but to make sure that we have an understanding of it. So if it is an architect or an interior architect or whoever comes up with the view or the notion or maybe even ask the questions, it doesn't really matter. It's about getting them to the table, starting to sketch. And I think also that who actually starts to do that first line has the power. And I think that power is crucial because it's a lot about visualization, what we're doing. Of course, we can always do talking, but it is very visual, the profession we're working, and also how we can explain that to our clients. And if it is a landscape architect or an architect or whoever does it, it's that power. And then that's why I think we as landscape architects should be super happy that more architects, urban designer, whoever, artists really are interested in our profession. And I think also the other way around, that we can bring to the table what we think is core or crucial and is really in the backbone. So I don't think we should be afraid to have more people interested in our field. It's more to open up and to be generous. And I think that part of the generosity is also a way to give more back to the society. And that is also where we need to be more responsible. Because it, as you say, I mean, just the word climate change or sustainability, it can be just words, but if we transform it into real project and build it and see that it makes a change, or not build where we shouldn't build, because we shouldn't rebuild all land, or we have to reuse, or we have to rethink. If it, whoever it comes from, if we are a driving force that together can make a change and push the world with architecture to make a change. And when I said architecture, it's all these fields. It's also in the way I like to say that my family name is architect and my first name is landscape. And we are in the same family. I think that is important to also be humble for other people, have different backgrounds, but learn from that.
It's interesting that what you just said about drawing first lines and talking, and I've seen many projects in general in our profession elsewhere where you can see that they are not really well thought through. Often it seems that people are start sketching and drawing too quickly, and then you can notice that actually something is missing. And what is really visible, for example, in your work in Snøhetta's portfolio, is definitely a very strong conceptual approach. And I would say that many projects are really strong because they are just well thought through. They suggest, in a way, a design approach when one thinks and talks through the project before actually designing. So how important is actually this very early conceptual stage, and how do you actually organize teams at that point? So before any line gets to be drawn.
It's really about the teamwork. First of all, we need to set up the team to actually going to do the project. If it is a competition, or if it's the right commission, whatever it is, or if it is like a startup meeting, to not be alone. And actually, when we read a program, it's a lot of contextual understanding. And these layering, then you can always say that the product designer will read that very differently from a landscape architect. But what they bring to the table to that first meeting, when we set up, and we usually we have a couple of different methods that we use, but sometimes it's just to meet and start talking. And then also get into actually the text of the programming or the understanding of what the client need or think he or she need. And then a site visit is also, if we can start with a site visit, then we have first impression, you just got it once, so it's important, but then you have to imagine how will this be. And then I think again, specifically for public space, anything in a landscape, it's so much about this 24/7, 365 days a year. Because you have wintertime, you have summertime, you have darkness, you have heat, you have drought, all these things that actually you need to feel on your body. No, we can't stay there for a year, but then with a team that have different imaginations and different things bringing to the table, then you start these discussions. And I think also to work with the concept, which we think is crucial, and how to get these things on the table. And then also, I would say that sometimes we have this system that we say we call it a sprint, hit and run, to really have a concentrated period for about a week to see how you can get the layering. And then also an understanding, which words do we use? What do they express? How can we start working in a physical model from day one? Yes, we also absolutely need to work in the 3D model. The digital, analog together. And we don't do the same all over. It's again to understand the context. To say that what is this place? What is this program? What can we achieve? And I also must say, it's not always you get a good idea. Of course not. And you don't get the magic idea on day one. Very rare. So it's again hitting and discussing and not give up and tolerate resistance. No, this is not good enough. No, I don't understand it. Can you explain why the project is like that? Why do we do this concept? So then to ask questions is maybe as important to give them answers, because then you get into new discussions that hopefully will make you to see we have to see it on the other way. We have to zoom out. There must be some contextual thing we haven't seen. There must be something we haven't found. There must be something we need to turn around. And to be honest about that, instead of saying, hey, let's just do it and wrap it up, then it's giving up too early. What we're doing is, of course, based on the team, but it's also personal. And we just need to keep on doing these things to challenge ourselves, to try to look into new solutions, to try to do things we never have been doing before. That's also why I think this interdisciplinary part of the way we're doing it maybe can help us to keep on going. Because I never seen a project get worse because we are more disciplines. Absolutely, you can say, Tom, we're too many people on the team, and sometimes we're too few. And this balance to get the right people with the right energy in the timing, sometimes then you got an idea, and maybe that's not the core of the idea, but somebody then comes with something new, and very, very, very often we can't remember who actually got the idea, because it's part of the process. And it's getting stronger because the more we get in, or we see that this can actually take resistance, then we can see, yes, this is a good concept because it can even take that and that and that. We forgot about this. No, test it out. Yes, it can even do that. So I think also that is part of to both to dare, and I must always also say that we also need risk-taking clients. If they just want to keep it inside the frames, or they say we know exactly what we want, then we maybe say maybe you shouldn't come to Snøhetta, maybe you should do it yourself, or maybe have something to execute exactly what you want, because we don't want what it will be. We don't know what it will be when we start a project. You can go a totally different direction. And that is also maybe part of being open, instead of being in the green zone longer than you think you actually can tolerate. And then still keep on being open, because the project isn't done before it's executed and built. So again, also when you are in the execution phase, really good handicraft people can make wonders and make it much better. So also I think it's important to listen and to take that into the project.
So actually the key is to have as diverse group of people on the team as early as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, because now, I mean, also by selecting Snøhetta to say to the community that this first stage of the project, where one is getting the idea of what will be built there, that this is so important, and I think that Snøhetta really excels in that. I truly believe that. So
just to add a little bit about that, because that is the beauty and the bad and the beast about competitions. Because then, of course, you can there will be a winner based on the best idea that the jury picks out. Mm-hmm. But that is also the good thing about that is you can really be in that green zone, and you can get a lot of different projects on, and you can add in whatever that team or the proposal will. On the other hand, we're overdoing it. We're over delivering. And also a lot of competition these days, the client asked for 100 disciplines and multi-layered group of lots of different competition. So it's hard for young, vibrant officers to get in at all, to just be pre-qualified. And if it's open anonymous, it's just for free. And we are giving so much so much for free to clients with so much good ideas, and it's just one project that can win, or that they maybe will execute if they have the budget and the money. So that is also something. It's really good because it's a good way to actually challenge ourselves and test ideas. On the other side, we are giving so much for free. That's also something when a client comes and said, yeah, faster, and everything goes so fast these days.
Yeah. So, okay, one of the last questions, probably the last, is what would you suggest to people that are starting the office now? So you are a multidisciplinary office. And now probably the suggestion is that multidisciplinary office is a way to go. And so how to do that? If you have landscape architects, you have architects, how to start with small teams? What are the core profiles at the beginning? How it will evolve? Because you, I know, were involved also when you were opening the US, the New York office very much. So if you can share any advice for small teams on how to...
Yes, I mean, maybe the best advice is again to have fun together. You need to find people that you want to work together with. If they are any kind of profession or other profession, maybe it's not the most crucial, but really to find a core member of people that you think this person is exactly the opposite, which knows this 1,000 times better than I do. And we need each other to get stronger and to get better. Or we have so much fun together and we see that there is a good energy. I think to start people straight out of school, if you go into a competition, yes, start an office. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to test that out, because you could say there are so many larger offices that have been around for a while, and we're of course one of those also. Test out yourself and don't be afraid, because I mean, if you think that all these things can go wrong, of course they can, but come on, challenge yourself and say, look for an opportunity. So I think to get a bunch of people that you like to work with and you feel that you have a strength and you can actually push each other. I think the smaller the teams, the more maybe important it is that you maybe figure out that I want to go in this direction. I really want to work with sustainability, or I really want to work with social environment, or I really are into planting design or water or something. Or you can say, no, I actually want to make the small project starting almost like in a garden, or it is the master planning. I think also to not start with everything at once. It's also a good advice. And then you can take on. And I think that's maybe also, again, some of the strengths that Snøhetta, we are not being afraid to do things we've never done before. To say, it's like, do you know the Swedish author Astrid Lindgren?
Sure.
Well, how do we say our name in English? You know, Pippi long stockings with the red hair. Pippi. She has this fantastic saying about that. I've never done that before, so I'm sure I will be good at that. And I think that is fantastic, because it's like, okay, say no, I can't do. I have no idea, and it's too hard. Yeah. Hey, why not? I never done it before, so I'm sure I can do that. Okay. And I think that is also about secure the room to have, I mean, it's comfortable around with the people you're around. And then maybe also you have the possibility to actually go the extra mile or do something you haven't done before. Or you're really good at something that you just love to do and you can keep on going into that direction. And I think also that for, again, to have the little touch of landscape architecture into that, because I am very humble about around the world how hard it is to stand alone in a profession, that also it's hard to get the first work. And I think again that we are so needed, and we are really the profession of the future. The holistic thinking about how land use is, how actually the public space, which get more and more crucial for every day, to have that view into the perspective of the project. Maybe that is also really important to try to get on board with a bigger team. So you're not alone, because to take all the fights all alone can be too hard. And then on the other side, to go on the client side, because then you can set rules, standards, and ask for something that wouldn't have been asked for if you were not a landscape architect. So I think it's not always about executing, it's also a being there to set the rules and be a client and actually make sure that we got a high standard of the product.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing this attitude. I'm sure our viewers will be happy to hear that and will appreciate these advices. So before we say goodbye, I would like to ask you what's going on at Snøhetta now.
Yeah, what's going on right now? And it's it's always so many things going on at the same time. But I think
start with projects.
Yes, start with project. I think we have some really interesting, nice, from really, really tiny to big scale project at the same time. And also, I mean, to be able to even work with product design and graphic design in our project is also, I think, enriching what we're doing. And trying to make it also even into research and material research to get really thinking about the more holistic and more environmental friendly and more sustainable solutions. But a couple of small things that I think would be super interesting to share is, for a long time in Norway, we had the Norwegian tourist route with a road authority, which is amazing that they have had a possibility to make all these smaller projects very much based on site specificness. And it's also a very interesting discussion if it is the object itself or if it's the view and the landscape and the site that is the most important. And there have been so many answers, and we have been working with a tiny project where it's all about the tide, ebb and flow, and how that actually is a moment that you have to be there. And that I think also is part of the natural wonders, but it can be very humble and very subtle, and it doesn't always have to cry out. So that is a project that will be open now later in June. So that is really interesting.
Images.
But let's do a little sharing. Okay, this is a tiny place up. It's close to the polar circle, but not all the way. So it's not that far up in Norway. We have a very long country, and this the scenic road, the touristic route is just like places you can stop for a moment, have a view. Some places have like a toilet, or you can sit down to have a coffee, but most of them is just a stopping point where you can rest. So this tiny project here is really about the landscape. And as you can see, it's like, it's super close. It's like 20 meters away from a big road. It's not like it's heavy trafficked. But then it's about this moment that it is a change. And with the ebb and flow, it's really about something can suddenly be there. And then something that can disappear. And as we know, this happens a couple of times a day. Sometimes it's more dramatic. And like here, it's all about very subtle. And then this is Thea. She's the project leader for this project. And now she's doing our Jesus walk on these stones that is just played to get to the other natural stone. So it's something very cultural, put in a space, and it's you don't see it if you don't want to, but if you go out there, it's a stopping point. You can reach out, and sometimes you see there is a walk, and sometimes you don't. So this is all about the moment you're there, being part of the nature. And if it's raining, if it's blowing, whatever, it will always be changing, like weather conditions. So in that sense, I think this is so humble and almost like nothing, but at the same time is dramatizing what is there and not so much about the project in itself. So I think that it's a very nice, cute little piece that doesn't cry too high.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Do you find any project that is new now at Snøhetta that would fit into this kind of landscape being house being building being a landscape and
Yeah, I think we're doing quite a lot of this. That you can say it's maybe something like a signature, but it's also not happening all the time. So I think of course sometimes it is a lot about, like this is a lot about the landscape and the context in itself, and it's very different when you are in a city and there is a lot of things going on and there is extremely complex and you have to solve more than just the one thing. And I think what we have been doing, working on now with in Helsinki, we won a competition downtown Helsinki, and I think it's really important. Now we talk a lot about green mobility and to try to make it more better for people walking on the bicycle, drive less, have the public transport system better working, and this interchange hub. Then you start work quite a lot with things going on below grade. Sometimes we put so much money in what's going on below grade and we can't even see it. And then you can always say, yeah, the top surface. And then both trying to show that it is easy to understand what is going on below grade, but at the same time that it doesn't cry out too much. And for the Helsinki project, it's also, we got the theme, worked with a local architect firm. We said that because this is also about understanding the city context with the neighboring neighborhood, and also that this is next to the central station, the train station. So it's all about people moving and how then to try to reoccupy this space, because today it is all about traffic, all about cars, and it's all about a lot about below grade parking. There's also a bus station that will move, but there will be a new light trail. There will be a lot about people walkability and bicycles. And I think then it's also about a new building. And this big controversy in the city of Helsinki, that they say, no, it shouldn't be built anything because the historic part says that it should be open. But with a too vast, too large, too not so friendly area, which is not based on human scale, then at least we think that also to have a building that is so permeable that if it's inside or outside, it's a lot about people moving, and also have the activity at grade and to revitalize that area. We think that is crucial. And it's not always that, no, a building is wrong or is an object. No, it's also about activities and people working there and the destination in itself. So to sew together the indoor or the outdoor to make it as fluid as possible, and even try to make it work in wintertime when it's snowing, raining, really harsh weather. It is a challenge, but also we need to get at grade level to put everything below, to have this extra layer, that underground world. Yes, it's needed for communication, but I think the social sustainability to meet both in daylight and to be together, and again have the possibility to people watching, it's really something we need. And the public space, I think it's underestimated how important these areas are. The taller and denser we build around the world, we know the urbanization will keep on going in that way. The care for the public space is really something we have to take care of. We have to set that standard higher, and also understand the notion of how harsh the conditions are. So it has to work all the time, and it will weather, and it will also be part of this system that it has. The urban jungle is really tough. I mean, like we were working in Times Square, the reconstruction, just to turn that from a total tourist trap and where you're driving to a place you actually could have slow space. You can sit down. I think it's a dramatic difference, but it's maybe not that you really see. But when you are there, it's a total change of atmosphere. And I think that is something we could be much better and make more of in the public space. And I think we just need to hit the button. It's not all about like a patterning on the right surface of the material. It's really about making a destination in itself that people care of and they want to come back. And it also can be a lot of different things, but still have its own personality.
Beautifully said. And so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the invitation, and again on behalf of Snøhetta, we are so happy and humble and really excited about that we actually got the prize from you guys.
Thank you as well, and yeah, I hope to see you soon somewhere.
Absolutely, hope to see you soon, everybody out there. Thanks a lot.